Hi, everyone. I am Eli Pellegrino. We're going to start in a little bit, but we're going to wait for some stragglers to get in. We had a lot of people registered. I think only about half of them are here so far. So now is a good time to test out Teams. If you can't hear me, check your volume, check your audio settings. If you don't know where the chat button is, now would be a good time to find it. It should be located up in that top row of icons, that top banner. And if you have any questions about Teams, I can try and help now, but I'm not like a big tech person. So I'm mostly going to be Googling your questions. And if you don't have video capacity, that's totally fine. You can always sorry, if you don't have video capacity, that's fine. If you have a mic, you can use that. If not, the chat is perfectly fine. And I'll be paying attention to the chat during this whole presentation. So if you have any questions, you can put them there. If you're getting an echo, that might be an audio problem on your end, or you might have like two screens open or something. It could also be a Wi-Fi issue if your Wi-Fi doesn't have the best connection. Is anyone else getting an echo? Okay, great. So it's not my audio then, Tom. I think it might be yours.
$60 people. Wow.
Just going to give it another minute or two, just in case some folks haven't joined yet. But we have quite a lot of folks here, so happy to see that. Okay. I'm also going to be sharing my screen during this. So can you guys see a screen here? It should just look like some trees on a lake. You should see my mouse moving around.
Yes.
Yes.
Great, thanks.
Yes.
If you want to enable your video, you'll see at that top banner, kind of near the middle-ish, there's an icon, and below it says camera. If there's an X through it, that means your video is off. You should be able to click it and turn it on.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay, then maybe your camera is not working for some reason.
Yeah, and it's not echoing now, so maybe it was just when you first started.
Maybe.
Once more, where the hell is the unmute?
Unmute would be the mic, which is right next to it.
Unmute. Okay. Testing 1, 2.
We can hear you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, let's get started. So just for anyone who hasn't seen the forms yet or doesn't know how to find them, if you search main subsurface wastewater HHE-200 update, it should be the first link that comes up, this one. You click on it and our forms are here for download. Right now, I would think of these as kind of like a preview. This event is a preview of everything, and we are going to put out an official email next week. There's a chance that after reviewing everything with you guys, maybe you find a typo, maybe there's some little like form function that we want to tweak. So it's possible that we might re-upload the form between now and next Friday. Which is all to say, if you download it today, you might want to check back next Friday and download it again. But this is the new page. The forms are here. Once this training is complete, I will have a recording of it available, and we'll have a link or either an embed to the recording on the website. And then tomorrow, if you're somebody who uses AutoCAD, Josh, one of my coworkers here at the Drinking Water Program, has created an AutoCAD version of this form, and he'll be doing a walkthrough of it tomorrow. There's no credits for it, but it might be really helpful. We did the best that we could with his knowledge of AutoCAD and how the form typically works, but you guys might have suggestions. So that's tomorrow from 1:30 to 2:30. And then beneath that are all of our FAQs. But going through the form, this is the new form. I'm just going to do a brief kind of overview of the whole thing, how it works, and then we'll kind of get into the details of each page. And I'll keep an eye on the chat if you have any questions, but I'll also pause every now and then to take questions. So the main change with this form is that it is now a page longer, and it also has a new alternative page, which I'll get to in a second. So the old page 1 has now been broken up into 2 pages. So the new page 1 is mostly information that the town office is going to need. Things like the property owners' information, the town's information, the actual disposal system. And then there's a couple of things about the disposal system also on the first page. But most of the items about the disposal system are on this page. Things are more spread out, so there's a lot more room for adding notes. And old pages 2 and 3, new pages 3 and 4 are pretty much unchanged. These look more or less the same as what they did before. We've included both gridded and ungridded versions for this form, since we did that on the previous one. And then completely new to this form is this page, which we refer to as alternative page 3. During the rounds of feedback that we did, we heard from a lot of you that pages 2 and 3 did not have enough room for site designs. And we understand that. And also you can only get so large with a box on a page. So what this page is allowing you to do is to basically do a design on a full page like this and attach it to the permit. This is something that we've already seen some people doing anyway, but it's just to formalize it a little bit. And it's based off of one of the pages that we have as part of the engineered system form. And basically, all of these boxes are information that would be on these other 2 pages, pages 3 and 4. You would just check off to say, yeah, I have all this information included on the attached pages. You would sign off on that. You'd fill out these 2 things, and then you would attach your other pages to it. And that's to allow for larger designs. But you would want to keep the pages at 8.5 by 11 just for printing and scanning purposes. So that's the overview. Before I get into the nitty-gritty, any questions? Mhm. Hi, Amy. Amy, I think your microphone is still muted, so you might need to tap that.
Sorry about that.
Totally fine, I do too.
I'm just wondering on the first page for the,
Mhm.
you know, like the address.
Yeah.
Is there any reason those boxes couldn't be a little longer? The same with the owner name and applicant name. Those boxes, they're just, you have, if you have somebody that has a really long name or a really long address, or you want to put two people's names in that, there's just not a lot of space there. And that was one of my complaints on the last form. So that was just more of a comment, hoping that that might be something that could be, you know, widened out a little bit.
Yeah, I can look into that. There might be a little bit more space that I can provide, but not too much. I will say that with the font size that we have, it is, you can get a fairly long name in there. But I hear that. With the street and address, I don't think we can make that any longer. We would need to separate it onto 2 lines, which would push everything on the form down. So we can't do that. We have to keep everything on this 1 line. But, you know, if you have kind of a short street number, you could either handwrite it in so that it can be a little bit longer between those 2. But we did check against some really long street names in the state to make sure that everything was fitting.
Okay. All right. I just, you know, sometimes the font gets so tiny that you can't read it very well. So I just was hoping to have a little more space there. But that sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Rodney, I see that your hand is up.
Yeah, hi guys. These forms are looking great, so thanks for making the changes. But to Amy's point, are these the types of fields that as you type the words in, the font gets smaller when it gets to the end? Or are they the type that it goes off the end, so if you flatten this, text disappears?
I think it's the type that gets smaller. Let's see. My brother has a really long name. Let's see if we do that. I think that it will start to run off. I can double check that. Yeah, it will cut off.
Okay, so I don't know how to do it because I'm better with Dirt than I am with forms, but there is a way to set these up so that the text gets smaller versus trailing off too. So that might be helpful in some cases.
I will look into that. I'll say this is my first time using Adobe Forms, so it's certainly been a learning experience. Okay. Let's see. Tom, I think you had a question?
Yeah, the current forms, the ones that you could at least fill in, one, like the address was fine. You get down into the bottom septic tank size, for example, it was so small you couldn't read it. So I don't know if that's been adjusted so that the font size is the same throughout.
It is about the same throughout. I did set everything at a consistent font. Can't remember. It was either at, I want to say it might have been at 10, but it could have been anywhere between 8 and 12. If there was anything that looked like it was going to have a lot of notes written into it, I might have set it at a smaller font. But I tried to keep everything fairly consistent and to provide a couple of lines to do things.
Thanks.
What is the font
Roger.
you're using?
What's the font? I think it's Arial. The state usually defaults to that.
Arial?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Roger, I see your hand is up.
Yep, thanks, Eli. Is there a way, like on that page 1, it looks like you've kind of tried to sort of keep some of the labels in line, like street, city, phone. If those pushed over, like same thing with owner name. If we move those all the way over to the left, maybe we could pull those boxes out and make them a little bigger, like to Amy's point about the owner name. Yeah, like pull that.
With owner name, we might be able to do that a little bit, but with
Yeah.
address, with number and street, we wouldn't be able to. We did debate for quite a while taking out number and street to provide more room. The reason that we didn't was that we frequently see permits without street numbers. And I know that for some cases, there's just not really a house number. But it makes searching for permits down the road really difficult if there isn't a house number. So we wanted to emphasize that on this version of the permit, just to try and keep searchability a little bit better going forward.
Yeah, and,
But
and I
with
think
owner
I'm
name,
good
we
with
might be
the
able to.
address part for sure. But the owner name is always in the app, is always owner
Yeah.
and applicant are always ones where there might be a couple owners, or you might have like a construction company or somebody.
Mhm.
So yeah, expanding
Yeah.
those would be a good idea if we can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Let's see. Bonnie, I see your hand up.
Hi, yeah, I'm just kind of expanding on that same thought. Here it seems like there's two different lines, one for owner and then another one for applicant. I mean, in the current form, there's really just, open space to write either applicant or owner, and then just a box to check whether or not they're applicant or owner. So could we use both of those lines for the names and then just have a box to check applicant or owner? Because otherwise, one of those lines is going to remain empty generally. And if the other one, is long, it would just give you extra space to have both of those lines, as opposed to leaving one for owner and one for applicant. Because usually it's one or the other.
We can look into that, but one of the issues that we've seen with permits in the past is that folks don't always check off if they're the owner or the applicant. So when it comes to searching for the permit in the future, that makes it a little bit more difficult. But we can look into that. Okay. And let me just take a second to check the chat, because I saw some people asking questions in there.
Sure, thanks.
Ugh.
Okay, Tom, I see you have a couple of questions. You asked, can we submit multiple pages, and is the font size large enough to see as opposed to the current form? In terms of, I'm guessing your can we submit multiple pages was about this page, and the answer would be yes. I would try and keep in mind that the town does have to send these to the state, so maybe not make it like a big, thick thing, but if you want to submit multiple pages, you can, as long as you get all of this information. As for the font size, this is the font size. So I think that it's fairly readable. I don't know what size it is compared to the old form. Will there be a new form for 220A, or will that remain the same? That will remain the same. The only two forms updating right now are the 200 and the 204. Will HHEs done and signed by the SC in the last 2 years still be acceptable? Yes. Yeah. So there will be a grace period for starting to use this form until the end of next year. So starting in 2027, we'll expect this form to be the one in use. So any permits that are permitted before that date are fine to be on the old form, though we encourage starting to use the new one.
Ellie, can I cut in on that question, just because I'm thinking of the time things. If I did work this year, for example, and somebody's got a site evaluation, a report from me, it might be 2 years before I'm trying to think, there's a 2-year window that this site evaluation, this form is still current. And before they need an update as far as the state is concerned. So shouldn't it extend one more year into the future? Or would they need a revision of these plans done? Thank you.
So you are talking about if a system is permitted next year, it has 2 years before it has to be installed, and there might be changes. Or you?
I was actually thinking I've completed a set of plans for somebody, say in August this year. We don't need to update plans until after 2 years by rules. So that a person may take those plans in a year and 10 months and go to the town code enforcement folks, and they'll say, shoot, you've got to update those plans because it's the wrong form. That should last for 2 years, is what was discussed at the winter meeting.
I was not present at the winter meeting, but Alex was. So Alex, if you would like to weigh in or think about it and weigh in the chat, that would be great.
Yeah, I think we'll discuss it in our next unit meeting, and we'll have to. You'll see it in our next emails out.
Sounds good. Continuing through the chat. Jeff asks, are these still in development? I was under the impression that these were finalized and ready for use. These are pretty much done. The only things that I was going to change after this meeting was anything like a typo, or if there are any like major issues, but these are very, very close to final, if not finalized. And we put them on the website with the idea that they were final. I think that's all the questions in the chat for now. So I will focus back on the form. Completely lost my mouse. There we go. So the first page in terms of the information that we're gathering is largely the same. I mentioned that we have an area specifically for street number now, which we did not have before. We've also added an area for email, which was not available before for the property owner. And also new in this section is the installer information. There was no previous place on the form other than the margins to write in installer information. So that is there for LPIs and town offices to take in. And this will probably happen later in the process when the installer is actually doing, or when the LPI is actually doing an inspection. This remains the same. We have added a second signature line for the LPI during the inspection. Previously, there was one signature line and 2 dates, so we've just given them 2. And this section is also new. It has some things that are similar to the form before, like the fee breakdown. And also there is a place here for checking anything that's going to kind of impact the fees of the permit. So if it's like a revision, if it's a doubled fee, there's a variance. If it's a seasonal conversion, that's all there. And that's to help the town with calculating the overall fee for the permit, as well as having this box where they can do an actual calculation if they want to, which might also be helpful for showing property owners why they're paying the fee that they're paying. These are pulled over from the old form. They are more or less the same. I think we added minor and the words minor and major to this section. I don't think we made any changes to this variance one. Treatment tanks has only changed a little bit, and that's to help with getting more information. So there's a notes section now for the tanks. We see that you guys put notes a lot in the tank section anyway to say if like there's an existing tank, if you're putting a couple of tanks in, if the tanks are different, why they're different. So we imagine this notes section being used for things like that. We also have this new line called total number of tanks, and that's just for if you're putting in more than one tank. You can note that down because there wasn't really a good way of representing that on the form before. In the disposal system components, this is more or less the same format as before. But we have a couple of areas for adding kind of additional information. So if there's more than one tank going into a complete non-engineered system, you can note it here. There's also specifying the type of alternative toilet for primitive system and alternative toilet. Before, I think only the alternative toilet had one. So now you can write it in with the actual line item. And then kind of trend continues with number of tanks. This was the one error that I noticed before that I needed to change, which is that you would not be specifying the number of tanks with the miscellaneous component, you'd be specifying the component. So we'll do a quick fix on that and put the form back up with that fix. We also have a couple of notes down here just about what counts as a tank, what doesn't. Mostly this is for fee purposes. And then this is about the same for site evaluator statements. Okay, I'm going to check the chat first, and then I'll call on the hands. So question on asterisks on disposal system components.
Yeah, that was me. And I'm sorry, I kind of missed a little bit of your last, your very last sentence that you talked about. But I just noticed that on the asterisks, there's the asterisks in that section.
Yep.
And I see the 2 asterisks on the bottom that says details on page 2, and that applies to the pre-treatment tank. But I don't see a single asterisk. Where is that?
The single asterisk is, just highlight the whole page. It's right over here on 750 gallons or more.
Oh, okay.
It's just about the tanks and what qualifies as a tank.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought maybe I just missed seeing that. Okay, thank you.
No, totally fine. And Tom, I see that you have your hand up too.
Yeah, a general question. Once these forms are filled in, or mostly filled in, let's say, and we send a copy to the LPI, and I don't know if it's all going to be electronic transfers, send one to the owner. I guess where I'm going with this is the concern. If it's still live and we don't have a clue who the installer is the applicant going to be able to all get into this form and add the stuff? And if so, what type of protection do we have that they won't go in and alter something else?
So this is a fillable form. You do not need to send them a fillable form. So what you would do after filling this form out would be to print it, and either you could print it as an actual thing, or you can save it as a PDF, and then it would send just as any PDF, and it would have the protections of any PDF does now.
Right, I guess, and this isn't implying anything to anybody, but will the LPIs get this fillable form, or will they get a printed one?
So the LPIs will have access to the fillable form that's on our website, but in terms of what they get, it depends on what you send them.
All right, because I'm concerned about the installer information. Not having had awful good luck over my history, but that's my problem, not yours, I guess. Thanks.
Concerning the installer information, I think if the installer or the LPI scribbles it onto the form at the time of the first signature, I think that's about all we can expect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions on the first page before we move on to the next one? Alrighty, moving right along. This is pretty much all of the information that used to be on the first page, but spread out a little bit more, so there's more room for adding notes. All of these specify boxes are larger than what they used to be on the old form. We have a nice large box for any additional notes. And completely new to this form is a section on pre-treatment / advanced treatment systems. We have 2 boxes for now. Maybe a future version will have more if there's a lot of pre-treatment stuff happening, but we thought that this was sufficient for now. And one of the bits of feedback that we received that we incorporated was adding this checkbox for a maintenance contract. Otherwise, this is all pretty much the same. I can answer questions on it, but not too much has changed other than just the actual formatting of it. Tom, I see that your hand is up.
Yeah. Is there provisions or can there be another page for adding additional notes? I mean, I tend to add notes to cover my butt.
Yeah, I mean,
And maybe that's the engineer in me too, but still.
If you used to add a page of notes to the permit, you can still add a page of notes to the permit.
Okay, thanks.
Going on to page 3, this really hasn't changed since the previous one. We tried to make this box a little bit bigger, but it is pretty similar in size still. This is the same thing, but without the grid lines. And then page 4, also very similar to the previous version. And we have a gridded and a non-gridded version available. And then moving right to the alternative page 3. You'll see that this box is pulled straight from page 3 right here. Exact same thing. And then this little section, oops, sorry, wrong page. This little section of page 4 was also brought onto alternative page 3, and that's right there. So you can just fill in all of those things right on this page. And then what you would be attaching is mostly the site plan and the soil profile. And you would just want to check off all of these boxes, saying that you've attached them, sign off, and that would be that. I see, Amy, you have a question.
Yes, I am looking at the soil profile and description boxes on the page 3. Mm-hmm. And well, one, I'm noticing that the box on the left-hand side, the columns are different widths than the columns on the right-hand side. So for the first test bit, they're smaller, and the second test bit, there has more space for the columns. So it would be really nice if we could get those columns to be the same. And it would also be nice.
Yeah, sorry.
Also be nice if we could have a little bit more room for texture. And you could make the consistence column a little bit smaller because there's usually less words that you have to use in the consistence column than you do in the textures column.
I will see what I can do about that. I will say that these were particularly fussy, and there might not be much that I can do in the next week to fix them, but I'll work and see if I can redo them a little bit, but this might be as good as they can get. We do have some, let me pull them up. When I was going through what was available on the website, we do have this extra soil log page that I think Peter might have made quite a while ago. And if this is nicer or you find this easier to use, we might keep this and put it on, and put it on the other page with the new forms. If you don't like how the boxes are in the current, on the new version.
All right, great, thank you.
And the soil profile descriptions be fillable. So one, I can try. So one of the things that we did do was on these, you'll see that these ones kind of have the lines and these ones don't. That's due to the way that we formatted the fillable form. You should be able to add a picture in here. So if you prefer to like hand fill them, you could take like a picture or you can screenshot something and put it in there. But when you ask for these to be fillable, are you talking about each individual line should be fillable, or the whole box?
The folks that have used SepticCAD over the years, when we typed in our soils information, they've appeared in these boxes, and so that's why I asked the question. But it appears that we'll be handwriting these things in, or like you're saying, cutting and pasting. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you use the CAD form, that we have a version of the CAD form on the website already to download, and you can play with that and you can adjust it as needed.
What's that? This whole thing. Sorry, here.
I'm seeing a couple of people say that the current form says consistency. That is a quick typo that I can definitely fix. Okay. Any other questions on this form for now, including on this alternative page 3? Oh, and then also we had someone request just a more formal blank page that they could fill out and attach. So this is just that. Roger, I see that your hand is up.
Yep, thanks, Eli. Just a note, back to Amy's question about the widths of the columns on the soil test pit logs. I did look at the CAD file, and the CAD file is a little bit different. I think on the CAD file in the DWG version, the column widths are the same. So I don't know if there's some difference, if there's a difference between the PDF and the CAD file. Probably want to get those the same, whichever way you end up going. So, yeah.
Yeah, the PDF and the CAD file, I think are both pulled from the Microsoft, so it could just be the way that PDF compressed everything when it changed the file type. But I will look into that.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions on the 200 before we move to the 204? Will the department be returning HHE-200s to the LPI if the installer box is empty? No, we will not. Most towns will submit permits to us before installation has happened. This is mostly to do with payment reasons. The town doesn't want a property owner to pay and then to have that payment sitting around for like 2 years before the system is installed. So the installer information and these inspection signatures, we do not expect the inspection signatures to be filled out when permits are submitted to us, so we wouldn't expect the installer information to be filled out either. This is really more for the town, and so they have that. Why no soil profile categorization at bottom of profile logs? I don't know. Let me see, I have the old forms pulled up. Are you referring to this? I don't know. We will have to look at that. It would have been really great if during a previous round of review, someone had mentioned that. Sorry.
I can't believe I didn't see that before.
We have been reviewing this form for a year, and it's wild how much there is to look at on this form. Okay, I will say right now that with the level of suggestions being put in the chat and said that the likelihood, if we were to take all of them, the likelihood of this one being released next week is low, especially if we have to add in extra boxes. So just keep that in mind. We will probably be talking about it as a unit next week. Okay, moving on to the, yeah, I agree. It is kind of important. I'm surprised that we missed that. Moving on to the 204. Generally pretty similar to the old one. We added a little bit more space here for describing what the variance is for. And then on this page, we made a little bit more of a differentiation between whether this is just a local variance or if it's a local and state variance. And that's just putting these in separate boxes. Let's see if I can pull up the other one. This is what it looked like before, where there was a separate box for each signature, but really, if you're having a state approval, both of these signatures are needed. So on this new form, they're put together in one box. And then this is kept the same. And then the big change with this form is that we've added this page back in. It used to be a part of this form. In the most recent version of this form, it was taken off. And after some discussion with Brent and Alex, we decided that it was important enough to add this back in with a section, of course, for some notes. The other thing to note with this form and the 200, any references to the rules have been updated, so they are now accurate. So any questions about the variance form? Well, then I'll open up to any other questions at all. We, do really appreciate your feedback. This is why we wanted to do a preview form or a preview presentation for the people who are going to be using this form the most before sending out a big email push to announce everything. Tom, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, a couple questions. Back on the HHE-200.
Yeah.
On the top of the soil logs, was that where that information is listed? No, not really, I guess. No.
It has
okay.
some of the information, but
All right.
yeah.
So I guess I would agree with that comment. And where are the new forms online?
Yeah, so at the beginning, I was saying that if you Googled main subsurface wastewater HHE-200 update, you'll see these results and this link that says HHE-200 and HHE-204 updates. If you click that, the forms are right here to download.
Oh, okay. I usually go on to the municipal offices site.
Yeah.
I didn't see them there.
No, we haven't done a big release of the form yet. We're doing kind of a soft launch so that we could get any questions or do any tweaks before really doing a big push to get it out.
Great, thanks.
right, I don't see any other questions in the chat, and I don't see any other hands raised. So I'll give a couple of seconds in case anybody else has a question, but otherwise we might wrap up a little bit early today. All right. Well, thank you all very much for attending. I really do appreciate your feedback, and we want to make this forum as good as it can be for you. So thank you very much. And as a reminder, the AutoCAD walkthrough is tomorrow from 1:30 to 2:30. That is mostly going to be led by my coworker, Josh, but I will also be there just to kind of help set up. So if you have any other questions, you can ask them tomorrow. Thank you very much.